Go ahead, Jose.
Good morning, everybody, to our 2020 Membership Town Hall Annual Business Meeting. We're conducting this meeting in a virtual format as we had to cancel our conference. And as I shared yesterday with our logo for the 2021 conference, we are keeping the same logo. We're just putting a 1 over the 0 because it remains as relevant. So let me provide you an overview of the agenda. And you can see that the first item is the welcome and quorum count. So if you have not logged in as a system integrator or a certified system integrator into the Q&A box, can you please do so? Type in the name of your company. Jill is watching the Q&A stream to be able to confirm that we have quorum. We need at least 33 system integrators and or certified system integrators to have quorum, which is required by our bylaws. So let me go back to review what the agenda is going to be for the day. We're going to provide, or the chair is going to provide the report. Luigi De Bernardini will provide his report for the year. I will provide a state of CSIA. Adrian Fahey, the treasurer, will provide the financial report. We will share with you the nomination of the vice chair. We will provide volunteer recognition, and then we will allow members to do the question and answers. This year, we will do that through the Q&A format. For those who just dialed in, a quick reminder, please go to the Q&A and put in your company name. This is for system integrators or certified system integrators. We need to establish quorum to allow us to meet our bylaws requirements. In the meantime, let me remind you about our CSIA Board of Directors headed by Luigi De Bernardini as the chair. We have Howard Hoffman from Hoffman Engineering, Adrian Fahey from Sage Automation. Adrian is also our treasurer. Steve Malisco from Malisco Engineering, Frank Riordan from DMC, Karen Griffin from Hargrove Controls and Automation, and Greg Young from Automation End. What you can see from the dates here is that we have a staggered board, which means that it preserves continuity of our board of directors. I would like to take this opportunity to congratulate the newly certified members since April of 2019. It includes a branch office for Intech Process Automation, Telstar Instruments, Pieper Automation, a division of Pieper Electric, and it's also a branch certification. Newly recertified members since April of 2019 include Matrix Technologies, Northwind Technical Services, Optimation, Polytron, General Control Systems, Enterprise Automation, Sweeney Controls Company, AutoWare, Syscon Automation Group, Lord & Company, Synergy Systems, Prime Controls, C2I, Accent Automation, Software Solutions, Private. And the list of our certified members around the world is this one. If you are a system integrator and have not certified, this would be a great opportunity to start adopting best practices with the goal of a certification in mind. When we have completed,
Jose, we have quorum.
Thank you very much for this great news. And thanks everybody for dialing in and for typing in your company. Thank you very much. So we can start officially the meeting. We have the quorum, and for the Q&A at the end of our presentation, this will be our way to answer your questions. The full board is online, and if you want to address it to a specific member, it's fine. Otherwise, we will sort it out from here. But just let you know that we are interested in your questions. So without any further ado, I would like now to pass it to the chair's report. Luigi?
Hi everybody. Thank you, Jose. It's nice to
meet you here, even if that was not what I thought could be our meeting. I mean, I was envisioning to meet in person in New Orleans, and this strange situation locks us in our houses, and we have to meet virtually. But it's a great pleasure to be with you today. So what a year we had. I mean, 2019 was a great year. We had a great conference. It was just one step from the record conference in San Francisco, and we really accomplished a lot of things during the year. It was we had the first conference managed completely by Kellen, the new AMC. We completed the onboarding, and we had a full year managed by our industry director, Lisa Richter. We hired Carolina Casas as a new LATAM director. We worked out with Jose and the board, Adrian, to put in place a new budgeting process, leveraging the expertise of Kellen financial people to have a better reporting, better view of our financial, and being able to take better decisions. We had basically a new board, 3 new members of the board on board during the year. We met in October in fall in Chicago to revise the 3-year strategic plan and prioritize the goals for 2020. And we continuously kept focus on generating and preserving cash in order to be as much resilient as possible and prepare for new investments in order to provide, to continue to provide value and to increase the value that we want to provide to CSIA members. And then 2020 came. Next slide, Jose. And at the beginning, it was a regular year. It was we started working on the strategic goals that we defined in 2019. We prepared for the projects. We started working actively, and then suddenly everything changed. I was in US in February, and I started hearing some bad news from Italy and scary news from Europe. And on February 22nd, I asked Jose and Kellen to start working on a possible contingency plan for an impact that COVID could have on the executive conference and on the association activities. It was, I have to say, I was probably lucky that we were probably lucky that Italy was impacted earlier, so that we could recognize the risk early, and we could, as Italians, experience some effects of the pandemic in advance. And so we could react immediately as a CSIA and started working immediately on putting in place a contingency plan with 3 possible scenarios: a optimistic one, a most likely one, and a pessimistic one. And guess what? The pessimistic one won at the end. So, but I mean, moving fast and moving early was absolutely key for us, and we could take a lot of advantage from that. Next slide. So all the 3 scenarios that we worked on has 3 main goals. First of all, safety and well-being of all our members. So we started thinking at the conference in terms of could we guarantee safety and well-being of people attending. So that was the first concern. Second one was how can we continue to deliver value, considering that, I mean, the conditions can change, and how can we adapt? And the third one, but not the less important one, how can we guarantee financial stability to the association in order to be able to transition this year and be safe. So upon the escalation of the virus, as soon as the situation started to become worse, we as a board started meeting weekly with the management team and considering how we could react to this. We discussed it a lot. It was a tough decision, it was tough discussion, but at the end, we decided to cancel the executive conference. And this is the first time in 26 years, and it was really a very, very difficult decision to take. But I believe that it was the right one. Moving quickly, we could have some advance with respect to the others. And so we were able to negotiate a great deal through the help of Kellen in order to avoid any cancellation fee with the hotel for all the members, and at the same time, be able to secure the conference in 2021 and 2022. I mean, moving faster was absolutely key, and deciding faster was absolutely key. We reviewed the budget, and we are continuously reviewing the budget, considering the 3 scenarios and adapting it to the conditions that are continuously changing. And we focused immediately on how we could reduce any possible cost for 2020 in order to be as safe as possible. Next slide. As a board, we continue to meet and to discuss how we can continue to support our members. How can we provide value to our members? You already saw there have been several initiatives in order to deliver content. We discussed how we could spread the content delivery during the year instead of concentrating it in during the conference. How we can leverage new technologies in order to support the association life and activities, the certification, the training, and last but not least, the one that is one of the key success factors for CSIA, which is networking. We thought a lot how we could deliver services to our members, how we could continue to deliver services to our members, and especially how can we continue to guarantee the possibility to get certified or recertified to our member. We all know that certification is one of the key assets of CSIA, and not being able to conduct the audits in person could have a big impact on that. And Jose will go deep in this later. Next slide. It's these times are really difficult, and I believe that one of the biggest difficulty is that they are not predictable. So we need to be absolutely creative in order to be resilient as much as possible. We need to continue to monitor the situation, but even to imagine how we can adapt. Because one thing is absolutely clear for everybody. This situation will end sometime, hopefully very soon, and we will be back to the normality. But the new normality will be for sure different from the old normality. And we need to be prepared to adapt to the new normality. And this will ask us to be really creative and adapt fast to new ways to work, to live together, to meet together, to discuss and to get value from CSIA as well. This is basically what happened during this year, what we are doing in order to face the situation. But before giving back the stage to Jose, I need to thank you, some people. Next slide. First of all, I want to thank all the members, SIs, partners, and especially sponsors that agreed to roll their conference registration fees to 2021. This was absolutely critical and it is a key contribution in order to keep CSIA alive, active, being able to deliver services and financially healthy. I want to thank Jose, Lisa, Carolina, and all the staff from Kellen because they did really, trust me guys, a great, unbelievable job. And they are continuously doing that in order to manage this situation. And this is not a situation that you really manage once and then it's done and you can go back to the rest of your work. This is really challenging because every week things changes and this requires extra effort from everybody in order to keep us updated and adapted to the continuously changing condition. And last but not least, I want to thank you all the colleagues from the board because it was tough. I guarantee you, it was really tough, and they had great commitment and great professionality in taking some very, very difficult decisions. And it's an honor working with you guys. So thank you so much. If there's any question, I will answer later at the end. Mike, back to Jose.
Thank you. Thank you, Luigi. Let me now provide a state of CSIA. So similar to Luigi, I'll review 2019, which was a great year. It was our 25th anniversary, and it was, interestingly enough, also the anniversary of many CSIA member companies. It was like a strange coincidence of the number 25. It was an overall good year for the system integrations, for the system integrators and for the automation industry. We ended with a solid financial result, and we had earmarked some improvement projects specifically on the IT infrastructure. Moving towards the future of CSIA, we created the Digital Transformation Task Force that Sam Hoff from Patty Engineering led, and we will be reviving this task force again. We just took a little break for this transition of the pandemic. But this remains a very critical topic, not just for our conference, but for the system integration industry. And we have been developing it from the system integrators perspective. We have also been attracting new players in our industry to CSIA, and this speaks to system integrators and vendor partners. It happened in 2020, but AWS, Amazon Web Services, is now a member of CSIA. We have been expanding our digital marketing and social media presence, and this has come at a very good time because that is our way to interface and reach out to audiences. So in a way, life was good, driving down the highway on a sunny day with the top down. Until it wasn't. And it was all very quickly, and it forced us to turn on a dime and adjust. So what happened? So we want to remain a relevant resource to our community, especially during the current challenging period. So we had to cancel the conference, but we still want to be the resource for system integration management related topics. And we want to continue to deliver our CSIA certification by enabling remote audits for recertifying. There'll be another slide for this. So today we are able to deliver remote audits, but only for branch offices. So the big question is like, what are we going to do with all these recertifications that we have in the backlog for this year? We had to adjust our value delivery through a stronger web and virtual presence. We had to ensure to retain membership because the renewal process was in the middle of the pandemic. So we got impacted by the pandemic on the renewal. And we had to reinvent the business development via new approaches. As you know, oftentimes you see me and Lisa at the trade shows, which is our way to reach out to new audiences, develop the membership of CSA. All of this is being challenged. All these shows have been canceled, at least the first wave. We'll see what happens for the rest of the year. And we needed to secure funding and adjust our cost structure and delay investments until the recovery. So tradition is nice, but it cannot get in the way. And I'm just making this example about two branches of our government here in the United States, about how one was better able to adapt to the challenge. So when you take a look at the Congress, they still insist on having their votes take place in person, which, if you know the numbers of our Congress, these are a lot of people, and you need to add all their staff, which is not the right thing to do, in my opinion, for the current pandemic. And if you take a look at the Supreme Court, also a court with a lot of tradition, they have now been opening up to having oral arguments done remotely. And I think we should try to really leverage all the technology to redefine the way we access, but to retain our core values. So like I said again, you know, like we are just delaying our conference to 21. But from a financial perspective, is we lost the income this year. And we also lost the opportunity to engage and provide the boost into the energy for our members. We had a lot of work, you know, just unwinding and rescheduling and negotiating all these different things. And at the end, of course, we're going to have lost income. But we tried to deliver as much as we could from the conference. So if you tuned in on May 6th, ITR Economics provided their overview, which is the overview that we normally have at the beginning of our conference. We provided yesterday, and in case you didn't have the opportunity to attend the award ceremony, it was very well done with Steve Goldberg as the host. We recorded it, so it will be available. And today we're doing the town hall business meeting, which is important, but it's also in our bylaws. And how are we redefining our landscape, right? So we moved quickly to create resources. So we created a site where we had resources and people were able to share them with others. We have continued to develop our remote training portfolio. And for the second half of the year, we're going to have online estimation course. So this is project cost estimation. We already have, and we continue to provide through ISA, the cybersecurity remote training. We created a new series, and we have been delivering on a weekly basis. On every Wednesday, we have been delivering on experience sharing around the experience of system integrators and vendors around the pandemic. And the topics have been evolving. Now it's moved more into thriving in the new environment. And we've also tried to experiment with things like the happy hour. You know, this is a big part of what we do at our event, which is the socializing and networking. And I think that, I don't know, half a year ago, this would have looked a little bit weird, but I tell you, I participated in that event and it felt pretty natural. It was our way given the current situation. I'm asking all of you to keep your eyes open to all the changes that are taking place on the landscape. If you have not been recently to a supermarket, you will notice, if you were to go, that they have now changed it. There are a lot of things that are different. They have been trying to create one directional aisles. They have eliminated some areas. And when it comes to trade shows, I'm sharing this because Rockwell did this month on the 12th of May. It was very interesting. They're trying to replicate the format of the trade show floor, and of course, in addition to what they have in terms of presentations. So I'm just asking you, keep your eyes open to all these things that are happening. Some of them actually may end up being very good ideas, will stay around into the new normality that Luigi was mentioning. And this is really my message. There are a lot of uncertainties. We don't know a lot of how this will evolve, but it's like an opportunity to check out how the things are happening. Back to the example of Rockwell, the very big event that is the Rockwell Automation Fair, where CSIA participates, and we have, in addition to the booth, we try to have some social gatherings too. So we will now see how it happens. I know that they sent a survey to try to get the input from different participants, you know, to see how they view it from their end and how they're changing their perspective, and all of that will be observed. At the end, we're all in this together. We have time till our next year conference, and we're interested to see how this whole evolves. In terms of partner relationships, there is also an opportunity for us to revisit. We did not have the expo, which was a great opportunity during the conference to have this, introduction of system integrators to vendors, but we are looking at new opportunities, and we have developed a list of ideas, and in the coming weeks, we will be reaching out individually to the partner community and running these ideas by them. So here's like a very big deal that we did, and I want to thank the auditors, which are the ones that make up the certifications committee, because we have worked very hard to revisit this topic and try to have something available to communicate today. Remote audits were always available for branch offices. Some of them were conducted, but that helped us as the backbone to make this remote audit option available, and we're making it available for recertifications. This is our first step, making it available for recertifications. So we have worked hard. We are at the last mile. I am, to be totally honest, the bottleneck right now because I have to gather all the input and finalize the document. The board approved yesterday our ability to carry this out. This is a significant change to our CMS, certification management systems, and they approved this change. So please keep watching the release on the controlsys.org, our webpage. We're making this available, and we're making this available because our auditors will be challenged in their travels. You will be challenged in terms of like being able to reopen your companies and have the meetings. And we have, I think, as a society, become much more comfortable with all these tools. So thank you for letting us move forward with this recertification via remote audits. So a small overview into our membership. So we ended 2019 with 520 members. This is a small reduction from the peak that we had in 2018. If you want the explanations, 2018 was a great year. It was a record breaker for our conference, for our membership, all great things. The end of 2018 was also the year where we transitioned to a new association management company for all the right reasons. It involved a lot of change, and I was the traditional business development person, and I had to take care of this transition. So that took me a little bit off the road, and Lisa Richter, who has been coming into this position, she came later, so it took her some ramp time. But I am not saying anything bad about 520. It's a very respectable number in terms of membership. We have 418 system integrators and certified system integrators at the end of 2019. The challenge will be in the years going forward because of the situation that is impacting our system integration market. So membership, as you can see, is made mostly by system integrators, either integrator or certified. So we have 80% of our membership are system integrators. The other 20% are partners. And as you know, partners are the automation equipment vendors, but also partners that supply to our system integration community, like marketing, like legal, like insurance. We also had a healthy representation of international members at 134, which is a very good number. And 52 of these are from Latin America. The rest is spread throughout the world. One of the things that we had been placing a lot of focus, and this was pre-COVID, was to increase our social media presence. And LinkedIn is really the vehicle for business-related networking. And so what you can see here is the important increase in impressions. And impressions are the number of times a post was shown to LinkedIn members. And so we're leveraging every single thing. If you went early to LinkedIn today, you saw the reminder that we sent out to the community about today's meeting. Whenever we have system integrators that are sharing good news, we are very actively trying to provide our comment to continue the social media promotion. I want to thank the staff behind CSIA. You have met some of these faces, but there is a lot of work. As you know, we have an association management company, it's Kellen, so we're dealing with fractional resources. And so a big advantage is during events like our conference, like an aquarium, we can make it big, but then after the conference, we can shrink it down. So Lisa and Carolina, we are members of the staff. And so we have a combination of, same with Cynthia, it's a combination of direct and AMC staff. But I want to thank everybody here on this picture because these were like very challenging months that we have gone through, and I think we have been adopting in a very positive way. So happy to answer questions, and like I said, we will proceed to do that through the Q&A at the end. I would like now to transfer to the treasurer to provide the financial report. Adrian?
Thank you very much, Jose. So just as part of the Treasurer's report, I'll take you through what our numbers look like for 2019. We'll have a quick look at what our numbers will look like for 2020, and then we'll close out with a summary. So let's have a look at 2019. So as Jose mentioned in the introduction, we had a really strong year in 2018 in regards to the conference. So we did see slightly lower revenues generated from the conference last year, just in line with slightly less attendance. However, we did see an increase in fee generation from our membership with our membership numbers, which is fantastic. The administration costs associated with Kellen coming on board are in line not only with 2018's numbers, are very close to 2018, but we're definitely in line with budget. And then we did have some deferral of some strategic projects. And as Jose mentioned before, that was really in line with bringing Kellen on board and our focus in making sure we transition smoothly. But the great news was it was a really strong year in generating cash. Next slide, please. So just as a bit of a snapshot, what you can see here is just looking at the revenues. You can see the revenues down from the conference. Membership numbers were up, and revenues exchange was slightly down, and we had an increase in other revenues. So a really strong performance in that area of our membership revenues, but slightly down on budget. And as I mentioned, it was slightly down on 2018 as a comparison. Next slide, please. However, we managed to manage our costs very carefully. So you can see expenses were significantly down against budget. And again, we saw some savings in the administration cost was down, some savings in association with the exchange program and other costs as well. So overall, a really strong performance in our expenses. So whilst revenues were down, we're able to manage our expenses and get a good return for the association. Now, these expenses were actually also down as budgeted against the previous year. Next slide, please. So the end position was a great year on the bottom line. So whilst we'd budgeted for an income of $106,000, we were able to achieve an actual income of $230,282. So a really strong year from the bottom line performance for 2019. Next slide, please. So I guess this graph really emphasizes the focus that the board and the management team have had on generating strong revenues, but at the same time managing expenses. And I guess as you look towards 2017, 2018 and 2019, you can see that increasing gap between our expenses and revenues, which is showing the return to the business. So really strong performance there. In the earlier years of 2015, 2016, that was a strong investment year associated with, or 2014, 2015, I should say, associated with exchange. But a really good graph showing really strong performance from the business, not only in revenue, but also in managing our expenses accordingly. Next slide, please. So cash at hand at the end of 2019 was a very strong position of $1.113173 million. So this is a really strong position. I guess industry best practice shows that you want to have at least 6 months of your expenses at cash at hand. So we definitely had that. We achieved that in 2018. With the strong performance in 2019, we're able to add further cash to the bottom line. So really a very strong and healthy position for the association in regards to our cash at hand. Next slide, please. So let's have a look at 2020. Now, we've already heard from Jose that one of the biggest challenges was the conference, and with the deferral of the conference. I just have to echo Jose and Luigi's comments. The response from the management team, the way that Kellen responded very quickly, they really did manage this exceptionally well. So there were some costs still associated with the conference and the deferral of it, but really, an exceptional job in managing and reducing the cost that could have been associated with that deferral. So just really need to call that out and recognise it. We are anticipating some reduction in membership fees, and we are seeing that. We have reduced the administration costs. The teams worked very quickly, and Kellen have worked quickly to reduce the administration costs to save costs. And we have deferred strategic projects, equaling more cost savings. And really the focus, as Luigi mentioned in his presentation, has been on really preserving that cash position and maximising our cash position as best as we can. Next slide. So if you look at where did we start with the budget on the left-hand side there, we actually started with a stronger budget position than 2019. So we were very much looking for growth. Very quickly, as Jose and Luigi have pointed out, we were challenged. And what that has resulted in is the management team and the board working closely together to reforecast. And as Luigi mentioned, we positioned ourselves with 3 possible reforecast positions, and this is a position we have landed at. And it is always going to be very flexible, a reforecast position, when you're looking at a situation like a pandemic and what we're seeing with COVID, but this is our best position we see the business to be in for this financial year. So significant reduction in revenues. We have managed to save some costs and expenses, and unfortunately the association will be posting a loss at the end of the year. But again, considering the loss of the conference, this is still a strong position. Next slide. So let's have a look at some of our assumptions and considerations just around revenue. So at the time of putting together this slide deck, we were 79% of our membership renewals compared to last year would have been 90%. So we have factored in some of a reduction in renewal fees. The impact of the cancellation of the conference is clearly the biggest impact, as you can see the missing green block on the right-hand side for the FY 2020 forecast. That is a significant impact on our revenues. We are anticipating a reduction in exchange revenues as well, and a reduction in other revenues. What we can say though is, whilst our revenues have been reduced, we are in a strong cash position. And again, on behalf of the board and the management team, thank you to everyone that made sure that they paid their registration fees on time, but also for our sponsors and registration fees that have been deferred for the 2021, which is great. That's just put us in a strong cash position. So thank you for that. Next slide. From the expenses side, you can see again the big green block. One of the significant reductions in the expenses are the costs associated with the conference. However, we did have a small $30,000 cost associated with just some of the items that we weren't able to defer in regards to the conference. Again, I really have to commend Kellen and the management team on managing that. That number could have been significantly worse. And certainly a big focus of the team was to make sure there wasn't an impact on the members. So making sure that cancellation, there were no cancellation costs passed on to the members associated with the cancellation of hotels. So really well done there. Quickly, we've moved and the team's moved to trim the overhead and operational budget. So we have reduced, we've really focus on reducing the operational costs of the business, but without reducing the services that we provide. So you can see a reduction, you can see a slight reduction there in the orange of our operating costs. And of course, we are saving some costs associated with travel and trade shows, as we are not able to travel at this point in time. And of course, we've taken that position, as mentioned, to defer the investment in the IT infrastructure, which was earmarked for this year. Next slide, thank you. So where will we end up? In a cash position, what we see is by the end of 2020, we will be in a cash position of approximately $800,000 within bank. Now, this is a strong cash position, considering the loss that the business will be incurring. it is a strong cash position. It is worth noting, though, within that cash position, there has been that the $330,000 that has been prepaid, if you like, for the conference next year. So whilst that won't impact cash this year, that will have an impact on our P&L position next year, and we will need to consider that. But thank you for everyone that has offered to leave that cash within the business, giving us a strong cash position moving forward for this financial year as we forecast. So I guess in closing, what I'd like to say, it was a really strong 2019. We have forecast what is a challenging 2020, but that has all been forecast into this budget. I just want to be clear on that. The board and management team really did move very quickly to absolutely maximise our cash position while minimising our cost position, but also making sure that we retained the services that are so important to our members. We do have a strong cash position. We still have cash in bank, which is a strong position for an association to be in. We are looking at different mechanisms to generate revenue, as Luigi and Jose spoke before. And if I could encourage you to do anything, I'd just encourage you to continue to look towards people that you know, to get them on board, continue to interface with the CSA. Let's really encourage people to join the association. Whilst we may not have a conference, we still have a lot to offer our members. So let's continue to encourage people to join. And for our partners, we are still doing special events. So we'd encourage our partners to continue to sponsor and get behind some of the special online events we're doing today. So again, as a treasurer, thank the board. I'd like to thank Kellen and the management team. They've done an absolutely fantastic job of managing what's been an incredibly difficult situation. So thank you very much.
Thank you very much, Adrian. So now we move to the vice chair nomination, and for that I'll give the mic to Luigi.
Yeah, I'm very happy to communicate you that the new vice chair will be Adrian Fay. He will be vice chair during, we will keep the role of treasurer, of course, will be the vice chair till 2021. So thank you, Adrian, for accepting the role. I'm really happy to work with you during the next year. We will have fun.
Yes, congratulations from my end as well. Before we go into a Q&A, let me provide some recognition to all our volunteers at CSIA. So as you know, we have committees and we have task forces. And then we also have some initiatives that, you know, are not official from a perspective of being a committee or a task force. First one is Best Practices and Certification Committee. So yesterday we had another meeting of the Best Practices. We meet on a monthly basis. The Best Practices Committee is the one that reviews the manual. This is the one that is looking into the reality of system integrators and how it's all changing and how do we need to reflect that in our manual. So a very dedicated group, and I'm always happy to participate. The Certification Committee is the one that is made up mainly of the auditors plus a board liaison. So Karen Griffin is our board liaison, and this is the group that has met 4 times this year only, just to work on the ability to deliver on the remote audits for recertifying system integrators. We also have the Statistics Committee. This is the Statistics Committee that is in charge of Pulse and the newly released Talent Retention Toolbox. So the Talent Retention Toolbox is the program that we came up with to replace salary survey. And there was a lot of work to redesign this program. If we hear what our members say in terms of their biggest challenge, which is like to attract, retain, and develop talent, this is a toolbox that will help them in that. So I want to recognize the full team. I want to recognize Jim Campbell for taking this lead role. But I also want to share that the members like Clayton and McCurvey have stepped up to the board and provided the webinars on PPP, Payroll Protection Program, and Don Roberts from Exotech provided also part of the webinar on the KPIs to monitor during the crisis. So these are the KPIs that the Pulse program goes through, and I encourage you to participate in this program as well. The marketing committee, we meet on a monthly basis, and it has been instrumental in helping system integrators. So we're directing the focus now to help those system integrators that have not had a good presence digitally to help them get that up to speed. There is no a simple way to develop the business through in-person trade shows anymore as we used to in the past, so digital is even more important. Digital Transformation Task Force, I want to thank Sam Hoff, who has organized and has led this force, and we met, I want to say, like 12 times in a very good way. We really developed the topic, and it helped us for the selection of our focus for the conference, which will now be next year. I also think that digital transformation remains a relevant topic, and actually through the crisis, it just gains urgency. Future leaders, this is where we want to bring the next leaders of CSIA, and Greg Young has been the board liaison for this initiative, and we have had good initiative. Every year at the conference, we have an opportunity to have a separate lunch for them and some of the presentations dedicated to them. We won't have the conference, we will have it next year, but there's a lot that still can be done remotely. So these are the official leaders for the different committees. Eric Schaefer for the Best Practices Committee, Georgia Whalen from Rivergate Marketing, and Jessica Mlinarik from DNC, co-heads for the Marketing Committee. Leadership Development Committee is traditionally the past chair, and so Jeff Miller is the current chair of this committee. The Partner Committee, John Weber from Software Toolbox and I, we share the role. Statistics Committee, it's Jim Campbell from Viewpoint Systems. The Awards Task Force, it's led by Steve Goldberg, who you saw yesterday, handing out the awards. Steve is from Matrix Technologies. We have the Digital Transformation Task Force, like I said, Sam Hoff from Patty Engineering. And we collaborate with the Open Process Automation Forum. We have met and we have reviewed some documents. We will have to get back into shape with that. So this was what we have in terms of a presentation. Now we can go into the Q&A. So I will do my effort here to read as I have on my screen. So Joe Martin asked, will the remote recertification audit option be available beyond 2020? The answer is, we were thinking and working towards creating this option before the crisis, to be totally honest. We were looking at other things to revamp our certification program. When the crisis hit, we just put the rest on hold and just focus on this remote audit as the point to go for. The answer is yes, we would like to have this as a permanent option. It's not mandatory. There are a lot of advantages to having an in-person meeting with your auditor, and we're not discounting any of that. But I think that for a while, the remote will be like your way of delivering on it. And let me also just provide a little more color to this. When we were having these meetings with the certification committee, first we made reference to other programs, that certification programs like ISO. So ASR, who does this ISO 9000 certifications, they shared with us that ISO has moved to enable remote audits with the exception of the automotive industry. But that for us provided us with a reference that, yes, we can find a way. If you have kids that are in college age or about to go to college, you will have seen that the advanced AP exams, so the advanced placement exams from the College Board, can now be taken from home. So there is a dramatic change in all of this in terms of testing and certifying, and we want to be part of it. So I hope you answer your questions. Okay, so Joe Martin also asked, there seems to be no participation in Pulse or the Talent Retention Toolbox in 2020. At least there's been no meaningful information output. What's the status of these programs? So honestly, I don't agree that there has been no participation. There has been quite a bit of participation in these two programs. So Talent Retention Toolbox was a program that was developed from zero, and it was able to be released on time, such that we were able to do this at the beginning of the year. And when it comes to Pulse, in the past months or a few years, developed new initiatives. So we have, for example, the Easy Stats. So this is a program that we post every month. You don't have to be part of Pulse. And it asks system integrators always two questions, always the same two questions, which is how's your outlook, up or down, and what were your revenues for the past quarter? And then we add two questions that vary every month, and we adjust them to the situation. So we have asked our members questions related to the pandemic and how they're adapting and what are they doing, all these measures, and we share that. So if you have not visited Easy Stats recently, please do so. It's fascinating. I have been tracking it since the pandemic, and I wanted to see how the very optimistic outlook that system integrators had, which was almost 80% were thumbs up, went and reversed. Like 80% were thumbs down in March, and it continued in April. So again, please track that one. Terry Miller, why do we think the renewal rate down to 79% from 90%? So here's to help with understanding of this question. The renewal cycle is one where we normally start before the end of the year, and we go into the first quarter, sometimes into the conference. So like this year, we made a cut at the first three months. We did not reach the 90% that we were having last year because the conference was earlier, and that gives us always an opportunity to promote. And also, if you're a member, you get a discount at the conference. So it's all in some ways related, but we were not able to get that. I think the more important question regarding membership is like what happens for the rest of the year. So on a normal year, we do the majority of the membership renewal, within, the first 3-4 months. And then that is the majority. And then we have that open for the rest of the years, for the rest of the year. So when we go into trade shows, when we develop the business, gain new members, we keep increasing the revenue. What we are saying is that because a lot of these trade shows have been eliminated, because the system integration community is being impacted by this, we are not so optimistic as being able to make up the revenue that we were able to make last year. And I'll say it one more time, the last part of our renewal cycle was impacted by this crisis. So some system integrators, had to take their eye off, the traditional things, and some of the renewals didn't happen. Okay, I will go now to a question to Joe Martin. So Joe is asking why he has not been able to get the Q1 2020 Pulse report due to lack of participation. So here's what I will say, and I think we may probably want to take this offline. We are working with the statistics committee, or the statistics committee is working to deliver our report to go back in time and make a historical of all the data that was provided. It's very specific about the first quarter of 2020. I honestly don't know the specifics about like when we close to be able to provide the report, but we will have to get back to you. I honestly don't have the specifics to be able to answer this. So Richard Brookman asks, what is CSIA's general assessment of the membership company's experiences and their likely ability to survive the COVID downturn? Most can handle V-shaped recovery, but not capitalize for a long U. It is a great question. It is a great question, and it really requires us to have a crystal ball. Here's like, I will provide you with my personal view on this. This, what we're going through, and this is the whole world, is unprecedented. There is no reference. There's nothing. We are making up the best we can to survive through this. V-shape, U-shape. I mean, you have this conversation from economists. It's all very fascinating. We're trying to keep up with it. We don't know. We don't know. I think the only thing that we know is that what we have seen is a very large degree of flexibility from our community, but the overall, you know, trying to continue to deliver what they were doing. If you were not used to having a remote workforce, well, now you do, right? And so like now you have to come up with all the systems to manage through it. Those that are working from home with young children, you know that they're also being teachers for the kids because they cannot go back to school. So it is a very challenging period. And I think that nobody wished this happened, but I think that if we go to it with open minds and as a community we share, and this is why we created all these resources, I think that we can help each other out. We can give ideas, you know, for others to follow. It will be quite the challenge for all of us, but it will be also probably the experience of a lifetime. I don't see more questions. So we're getting at the top of the hour, which is half an hour earlier than we scheduled. So they say that these type of meetings are much more efficient, okay? Because we're missing all the conversations and chit-chatting, which in a lot of ways I miss. I missed yesterday from our award ceremony, the ability to hear everybody clapping and cheering and then having the side conversations and providing input. But it is what we have. I did receive feedback in a different way. I got a lot of emails and people were very excited, and I was personally, you know, touched. It was a great speech by all the recipients. It was also a great hosting done by Steve Goldberg, and I felt very emotional. I got a lot of emails, people congratulating us for the event. So I think that it's not the normal way of having this type of an event, but we're making the most of it. All of us are. This is our new reality. So I want to thank everybody, and I want to thank one more time all our membership for being so supportive to CSIA and viewing us as your community. And thank you. Luigi, do you want to say any final words?
No, I just want to join you in thanking everyone, all the members that supported us, all the members that attended, that contributed to keep CSIA live during this strange period. All the discussions, contributions on our website, on the forum. I believe that one thing that we felt and that worked pretty well during, especially at the beginning, but during all this strange time, is that we are a live community, and we demonstrated once more that people are willing to share and are willing to help each other, and stronger together than alone. And this is the strength of CSIA. So thank you, everybody, and really, I hope to see you very, very soon in person.
All right. Thank you, everybody.
Thank you. Bye.